Welcome to the Canadian Scrapbooker Technique Tasters. My name is Jackie. Today we are going to be looking at a Heartfelt Creations tool. It's a flower shaper, and Kim is here on the show today to show us how she created these two cards using a bunch of different tools. Kim, what did you use for the base of the card to get started?
For the base of the card, I like to use Coordinations cardstock.
Okay.
It's got nice texture to it.
Right,
and
it's very textury.
Wanting to grunge it up, it's easy to do.
You can rip it and the inside has a different color?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what
you used for around here?
Yes.
And then the pattern paper that you chose?
The pattern paper is a Simple Stories. Pretty
It's kind of
basic
like a
paper
barn.
from this one here. It's like barn board. It's their Simple Vibes.
Right, works
paper.
with anything.
Works, yeah, easy.
Because these are like a generic card that you could give for any reason, really. You could give it to me after the show.
I could. Yeah. If you were good to me, I could.
She doesn't know yet. And then the stamped images.
So the stamped images, basically I have one pre-stamped here, and they're using the Heartfelt Delightful Daisies and the Everyday Hero newsprint. And I just kind of layered it up to add some more texture onto those pages, or onto the card.
And this Heartfelt Creation stamp, it's kind of interesting because it's all one piece. It's not broken apart.
And that's because there is a die that works with it. And so instead of cutting one out at a time, you can do a whole bunch, and then you can work with.
So long to the fussy cutting. Because when I look at this and think that I have to cut this out, I get scared.
It's a little intimidating.
I get scared. But I look at that, I kind of get scared too, but I'll let you show me how you do that nice and easy.
Yeah, so on these cards here, this one here I had the leaf and the flower, and I just layer it with some washi tape. So, you know, you stamp your image, which is pretty straightforward. I've used Color Box chalk ink. Layer your die over top of it. I like to use some washi tape to hold it in place, and that way it's not going to...
And washi tape is so pretty anyway.
It's fun. It's fun to have.
It's pretty. It's kind of
all over the house.
The upbeat of plain old Scotch tape.
It is.
It's kind of nice.
And so then basically I run this through the Sizzix Big Shot.
I'll get this ready for you, Kim.
I like to use their magnetic plate.
Okay.
Because the dies are magnetic and it just sets into place.
And it won't move.
It won't move. Layer it. I like to use the little shim plate as well.
Oh, a shimmy plate. I haven't seen that before. And is that just a little extra?
Just a little extra. Sometimes you need a little bit more.
In we go.
Depending on the paper thickness, I find that little shim plate
just makes the bit of difference?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
And then you just pop it out.
It just comes out. I like the sound.
I do too. It's so fun.
Yeah, that's a nice sound.
You don't have to take the washi tape off. You can just kind of leave that all on if you want.
Well, and then the beauty of this is actually I am going to take this off even if I rip it because I like what's left behind.
You could use this as
a
stencil
mask
if you
or a
wanted
stencil
to.
Or very nice. Cool.
And so then the fun part of this card
is the
Heartfelt Shaping Kit.
Right. So you want to mold those flowers to make them look
dimensional.
More real. Or dimensional.
So they call it a flower shaper, and here we're going to use it on flowers, but I like using it on leaves and anything that you want to add
some poof
to it. Okay. The kit is pretty self-contained. It opens up nicely. Everything stores in here. It's got a little stylus, and it's got lots of different tips that you can use with it.
That's a lot of molding.
It's a lot of molding.
There's a lot of molding going on in this kit.
The smart thing is your stylus has two ends, so if you're working with two tips.
And do they just pull out easy too?
There's like a little magnet in there, so they work wonderful.
And do you work in the?
You can work however you want, and depending on the paper that you use, sometimes you can spritz it with some water just to soften the fiber of the paper.
And you know what? I heard about this, so then when it dries, it actually holds
it. It holds that shape.
That little bit of wetness, and then when you mold, and then it holds it a little bit better.
Yes.
It's kind of like clay in a weird way.
A little bit. It's almost like a glue once it dries. Okay. Basically, whichever way you want the shape to pop out, you do the reverse.
Way, or a valley or a hill.
Right. So if I want the center of my flower to pop inwards, I'm going to come in
And push that way.
And push that way. And for the flowers, I like to use a big one for the center.
Right.
And then if I want to add some dimension to the leaves, I can pop it over. Or I guess they're not leaves, that's not the technical. I'm a scrapbooker, not
The
a
petals.
botanicist.
I totally missed that. I would have been completely satisfied with you calling it a leaf.
And so then I just going in here and
You could actually just see it popping up all by itself.
Right, and you can push, you can roll, you can come in here to add a little bit more. And then you're just doing that, and it looks kind of funny now, but when it dries,
well, for sure, then
dries in place.
You can see here how it's just flipped up. I actually thought that you used a 3D dimensional adhesive, but you don't need to when you do this. Okay.
So same thing here. You can do it dry as well, depending on your flower, depending on the paper.
So then what did you, now you adhered it to the base of the card. Oh, I see you did a leaf too.
I did.
So you also worked with it on a...
The same way as I did a little bit underneath the leaf, a little bit on the tips of the leaf, and it just kind of pops it. Yeah. So it gives you that dimension. And as far
got
as
a little bit of a base
putting
there.
them together, and we did it.
You
with
stamped
all the
on this
flowers.
too. Sorry, I see you on that barn. You used the barn textured paper.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
patterned, I should say.
So the paper gives it some texture. The stamp gives it some texture.
Looks 3D.
And the twine from May Arts gives it some texture. So it's all about kind of layering.
Right.
And for the twine, I just kind of gently wrap it around.
It looks so perfectly placed.
And then you just tie it in a knot, pull it out, and you can use some of the Tombow Extreme
Adhesives, right?
And
that's that L action.
you've got to do an L action.
Okay.
So you come down.
There you go.
Quick L,
Right.
And you can stick
Zip,
anything.
zip, because if you don't zip, zip, it zip gunks. So you need to zip, zip.
Yeah, and you know, it takes a couple of times to get the feel for that, but once you do,
It holds.
it is phenomenal. There's
holds.
nothing coming off of that glue. You know, and we could do the same thing here. And then just kind of tack it in place.
Very nice.
And obviously here I've got extra flowers with it.
Right.
And then
you built
can,
it along and stuff.
Right, right.
And here you used some Clear Snap spritz, I think, is what
Here
you
I
colored
used
with it.
Clear Snap spritz, and I used this barn paper
Right.
to cut out and just colored it with some spritz. Pattern paper gives you the pattern and color of the paper, obviously.
Looks
but
good.
you could ink it, you could do whatever you want.
Right.
And just keep layering them.
Just
You
keep
can
layering.
Just keep
Well, you
having
know what,
fun
and
with them.
that's the thing here. So if you keep adding layers, when you use a molding tool, you can make things look so 3D and dimensional.
Yes.
Very nice. created 3 cards using a product or a tool that sometimes is one of those things that you see on the stands and you're not sure if you should buy them or not. And it's called transfer film. And Kim is here to show us today how easy they are to use and how versatile they are to use, as you can see from these 3 cards that are right here. So Kim, to get us started, what products did you use first off for the bases of the cards?
So what I used for the first part is I used Coordinations, cardstock, and Momenta paper.
Okay.
Momenta paper comes in this wonderful pack that I had, and it's just fun. It was easy to work with. Each one has Impression Obsession stamps on it.
You've got some funky stamps.
Just a different variety of them. This is one. This is kind of a coffee-themed one.
Right.
And this one here actually came out almost like a ribbon, but looks like a piece of wood on there. So it was kind of an interesting surprise. And then what kind of shines on all of them is the transfer ink from Sizzix.
These are ink sheets transfer films. Very neat. I'm really excited for you to show me how to use those. Do you want to?
They're kind of fun. They're pretty simple. So we could start with this one.
We're going to start with that card. Okay.
Okay.
So you're going to create this right here and show us. I don't even know what. Just by looking at this, I'm not even sure where the film is.
That's what's neat about it. The film is actually the stitching.
Is actually the stitching.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you don't have to take your little pen and manually do it yourself. You can take this particular Sizzix die is the one that I used, and it has the cut and emboss combined. So you can cut with one, emboss the stitching. So instead of getting that imprint, you're getting it with the ink.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's
start off by.
Do you need this right now?
Cutting first.
Okay.
With the Big Shot, and I'll get the magnetic plate because that's my favorite to work with.
That keeps it in position.
Yes, and the 2 regular plates
there you
here.
go.
And again, that magnetic plate just holds that in place wherever you want it to be. Putting the other plate on and
running it through.
Letting the Sizzix Big Shot
we can hear it cut.
Do its thing.
Nice.
And this is what you've got, and usually you might take a little pen and just draw out your stitching. We take the embossing.
Okay.
And what we're going to do is you want the shiny side up.
Okay.
And the flat side towards your paper.
Okay.
And
how does it?
It just feels like.
It's not really foil.
No, it doesn't feel. It's like a plastic.
Yeah. Okay.
Mylar kind of thing, and then you want to try to line this up, and sometimes that's the hardest part. But I find if you bring it up to the light.
Oh yeah, you can see.
You can kind of get where it's going there. This portion I would love to use washi tape with just to kind of hold it in place.
Okay.
And then we have this wonderful little transfer pad that Sizzix has made so that it's not putting too much pressure on, so you're not
cutting through.
Oh, it's just giving enough pressure to imprint. That goes over top.
All right, let the magic begin.
Into your Sizzix Big Shot, run it through, and then we lift it up, and hopefully the magic has happened.
And there you have
your stitching.
There you have your stitching.
Easy breezy.
Easy breezy. Okay, so now show me what you did. Where is the transfer film on this one?
The transfer film on this one, which is really neat, is often with white ink. If you were stamping, you can't use it so easily on black paper.
Right.
With the film, you can.
That's this.
So
this right here.
Your
perfect.
Your ink sheet.
A white.
White on black, which is kind of cool. So the same process here, and we can use any.
I think did you use that one?
I use this one here, the floral, because florals are just kind of fun, and everybody.
Oh, you can never have enough flowers anywhere. You can't have enough flowers in your house, in your scrapbooking supplies. I love flowers.
Matte towards the paper.
Matte towards the paper.
This one here, I'm not going to worry about putting the washi tape on because it's random. It doesn't matter.
Right.
And then we're going to run that through the Sizzix Big Shot again. And again, we hope the magic happens.
Da 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 da.
And it does.
It did.
It's
Look
wonderful.
at that. That is wonderful. That is really wonderful.
It's really cool.
Very neat.
Now, one other thing you can do with it, and I'm sure that what you can do with it is kind of endless. On this card here, I've actually used my own printing to write hello on there.
Okay.
And this is also the ink transfer on the back, trying to
Yeah,
kind
it
of
looks
a
like
mixed
you
media.
use this
I did use
one?
that fun little squiggle, and it just kind of
create
gives,
the-
again, it's texture, bringing
Yeah,
everything up,
right.
right? And you can reuse these sheets, so use it more than once, and you can come in here and you can write Kim.
Oh, that is
And-
fun. That is really fun.
Yeah, so I think it's one of those things that you can easily add on for techniques, for cards. The other neat thing about it is it almost acts like a pigment ink when it's done, so
and
you can
it doesn't
watercolor.
lose its allure. Oh, yes.
No, it doesn't. So you could watercolor it over if you wanted to create kind of that
Right.
watercolor effect that's so popular right now, or you
Cool.
can just use it on its own.
Find them and play with them. Awesome. Adding ink, sanding, and adding paint all with one tool, and it has a funky name. It's called the Groove tool.
It's a fun tool.
That's a fun tool. We're going to show it off here right away.
So this is the Groove tool. It's distributed by Momenta.
Right?
And
Looks, it comes in a fancy little
it
box
comes
like
in
this.
a fun little box. It comes with different attachments here, and they're all part of the packaging.
They all come together.
They all come together, and you can order more accessories for it if you need to.
Okay.
It was a tool that I didn't think I would really need or want. I really
But
like
once you got it,
it's
it
really,
makes sense. It actually makes
fun.
sense. It's a tool that makes sense.
Yes.
So let's show, we have a bunch of examples of cards here. Let's show where you use the Groove tool and how on this one.
So on this card here, I've used it in two places.
Okay.
We've die cut out this bird from one of the Sizzix dies and put it through an embosser.
I see it. It's right there.
Yeah. And then we use this embossing folder, also from Sizzix,
Right.
to come up with this little guy.
And you used Coordinations Color Core cardstock,
yes.
right? Because that's what's going to make the Groove tool really
That's
show
where it
its work.
shines because
Yeah.
it's going to give us this texture. And this
Okay.
on its own is pretty fun.
It is.
But if you put the sanding tool on this,
It's a little bit more. More is always better.
more's better.
More is
and
better.
it has 2 speeds, but I really didn't find the speeds made a huge difference.
Okay.
So I liked it on high.
Oh, it actually, it runs. It's a machine.
It's a machine. This
Oh,
is a
that
tool.
is, just a second. That is cool.
It's fun.
Oh my gosh, okay, there you go.
So one thing
That's
I
groovy.
learned, hold on to your project, otherwise it will turn with the Groove tool, okay?
Okay.
And then
Wow, that is really,
I just took it over top of the embossed area.
right, you're just taking away that top layer, showing the I just think
and then it's easy to distress. And I also, on this card here, the edges.
You went around the
of
edges.
the card, I used the groove tool as well to
and so
distress.
you could buy replacement.
You can buy
sanding
replacements,
things?
but I think if you take the time and clean it out afterwards,
It should be okay.
You're fine. I've done lots of cards with it now, and
it still looks
going
good.
strong. Yeah, so
Okay.
no issues with that.
And it's a
at
battery,
all.
I take it.
Battery, yeah,
Okay.
and easy. It's just your typical
There we go.
AA batteries. Put it back on.
Now, what did you do? Well, actually, why don't we stick to this card? You've
Yes.
done something here on the background.
On this card as well, I've used one of the color box stencils.
Okay.
And I've applied the ink with the foam tool.
Foam
for the groove.
spot.
Easy to
Pop
remove
out.
that. Put on the foam tool.
I'll get this
still,
out for you.
It's still colored. I've used Canadian Scrapbooker Super Stock just because it's more of a multi-medium if you're adding lots of ink.
It makes it so that the paper doesn't like fold and stuff, and it holds lots of love,
Yeah.
lots of ink, lots of gunk.
So if I were working this whole piece at home, I might tape this down just so
Okay.
I've got more time. But for the sake of the demo, I'm using some chalk ink here. And just make sure your pad is juicy, which this one is very juicy.
Yeah.
And again, you're just...
You just turn it on and it does it
Go
for
over
you.
the stencil, and it's really fun, right?
I actually have
You
to
have
just
to
try a
try
little
that.
bit.
Ink up, ink
And it
up
has
your
like
foam
high
again.
and low?
It does, but I like it on high. I'm a fast action kind of girl, so I don't want to mess around. I want it
You
to
want
go
it
as fast
done.
as it can.
That is very neat.
And then when
Okay.
you lift it up,
Boom.
it's perfect.
It is perfect.
And then when I was making this card, then I also used the foam tip. I washed it out, put on a lighter color, and I used the foam tip to apply the chalk ink that was lighter.
a
just
little
to
bit of a
give it
lighter
this
shade. Because this whole background was white,
whole background was white.
and you went ahead and
all
colored
the
it
ink was applied with the
using the
groove
groove tool.
I love
Neat.
it. It's really quite fun.
Okay, next. That one. Where did you use it
So
there?
on this one here, again, I use Canadian Scrapbooker Super Stock.
Okay.
And I use a color box stencil. You can see my colors are still on there.
And look at that. You used this great Sizzix die.
Yes, same technique.
Same
I
technique.
used the embossing folder, ran it through.
With the Coordinations Color Core
Use the
cardstocks.
sandpaper.
There you go.
And what I did with this one here is I mixed the eyes ink.
Oh
which
yes, this is the Clear
the
Snap.
pigment, yeah.
The Aladdin ink distributed by Clear Snap. We
Yes,
love this. This
it's
is
a
one of our
mouthful,
favorite
but I
tools.
love it.
Yeah,
It's
one of
so
our
fun.
favorite inks.
And it gives a nice shimmer if you use it on its own. Here I mixed it with gesso so that it would go a little bit farther.
Okay.
And
gesso is a white acrylic base paint, right?
yes, it's like
Basically,
a primer.
like a primer.
And I'm using the foam, not the foam brush, so I'm using the brush with this
brush,
one here because
okay.
it's a paint, right?
Okay.
And we're just going to put a little bit of gesso on there.
Just a couple of drops.
Couple drops. Because you're mixing it with the white gesso.
Don't mix the head into the gesso of the dopper.
No.
Oh,
You
that
don't
would
want to
be
do this.
Heart-wrenching.
And sometimes, if I'm at home, I might use a non-stick sheet. But
Okay.
for the ease of here, this is throwaway, right?
All right.
So I'll just mix it up there. It doesn't have to be. And it will always be lighter because you're mixing it with white.
Right.
And
I'll grab you your stencil.
same thing, I would tape it at home, and I probably should have done a little bit
I'll hold
more. But let's
do a
do
little
this
section.
one here.
Oh,
Because I'm using paint on this one, you probably don't want as detailed a print, just so if it goes up under
Right.
it. But it's fun for those big overall.
Okay.
And so you lift it off, and look, your paint is perfectly applied. And then on this one again, I used the foam and put that coral color.
like afterwards you went
Yeah,
around
afterwards,
with the,
yeah.
okay.
I can't do that here now
No,
for you
no, it'd
because
be
it's
one big
wet and it
smirkly.
would be a beautiful color of mud.
Very nice.
So that's basically what I've done, and I am really enjoying it. You can foam edge ink around your cards to distress if you want, sand it, have fun with it.
That's fun.
But best of all, you should get one. I
Yes.
think everybody should have one. I love it.
Love it. Thank you, Kim, for showing us how to use the groove tool. We are back, and Kim here has put the groove tool to use with all the techniques that we just showed you on one layout.
I did.
That's pretty impressive.
You know, it was challenging, but once you start getting into the groove of it,
it's kind of like brain gym.
Fun.
Yeah, get into the groove of it. Perfect. So show me. We'll just go over again sort of what you did.
So the products I've used here are the Coordinations cardstock, and I've
for
used
the base
it here and as a mat for my pictures. This background paper here is a Momenta paper pad, which has some really neat kind of multimedia style papers, which is really cool. And Mayart's twine, the groove tool, and the Sizzix ink transfer sheets are kind of what I think are shining on this. This embossed portion of the leaves is the ink transfer with
the Momenta dies.
Okay. So it has the die and the embossing plate, so it's ideal for use with this type of a system. To give the leaves some shape, I use the Heartfelt Deluxe Flower Shaping Tool. And again, it just gives some little puffiness to the inside.
And it actually also shows that you've used it on more than a flower. You've used it here to make the leaves.
Yes, exactly. And one thing that I was pleased about when I used this is the ink transfer sheets are not brittle. I was kind of worried that maybe once I started to give it some shape, it would be brittle and break off.
So you put the ink transfer sheets on first, and then you manipulated them, and it did not lose any of it, like it didn't crack.
And then the groove tool I used with this stencil, I used a color box stencil.
There's the groove tool. This is what the packaging looks like. Comes with all of your accessories.
It's fun. It's a fun tool. I really enjoyed it.
Distributed by Momenta?
Yes. And then color box art screens, so I've used that to add some texture. I also used it for my journaling.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I distressed again with...
I see where you distressed.
The groove tool.
Perfect.
Impression Obsession stamp, and it all kind of came together.
That's a nice one. Well, and then I see that you have the Aladdin inks distributed by Clear Snap here on the table.
Yes.
You did that with this card, right?
I did.
Right there. That is a really fun effect.
So this is very fun with this one here. Basically what I did is I dabbed some of the color on my paper, spritzed it with water, held it up, and let it flow where it wants to go.
Love it.
The nice thing about the eyes inks is they have a shimmer to them, so when they dry, if you're not mixing them with anything, you get that nice glow.
Shimmer. You stuck it all together using...
Tombow Extreme adhesive.
And it sticks.
And it's going nowhere.
Going nowhere.
Going nowhere. And the nice thing about the Tombow Extreme when I'm doing this, because I used a thinner paper, it holds down where it's kind of buckled a little bit. Impression Obsession stamp, I use my Sizzix and Shaper again, the Heartfelt Shaper tool. And I use the groove tool again to de-stress, I guess de-stress.
To de-stress the stress of the flower. That's what you did with the groove tool. Groovy. This was lots of fun. So many different techniques here using one simple tool. Till next time, take care.
Thank you.
And happy scrapbooking. Thank you, Kim.
It was lots of fun.
It was fun.